Hey everyone, I am super excited because today we have Denise Robinson with us, and Denise is starting a movement. And I really mean this genuinely. She is creating this Do Right campaign, this Do Right movement, this Do Right line of clothing. And the message behind it is phenomenal. She is a one in a million, this lady. So we're going to talk about her Do Right movement, but she doesn't want to actually sell anything. She does the right thing all the time. So what she's going to be talking about today is this movement. And then at the end, because it's really close to Christmas, she's going to be talking to you about maybe donating, if you can, a small amount of money to her Do Right campaign so that she can give toys to the less fortunate children for this Christmas. So stay tuned. You don't have to give if you don't want to, right? That's the whole part of the Do Right movement. But we're going to talk about this, and this is going to be so fascinating. You are going to love it. Welcome, Denise.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. LaFaye, you're just amazing. I just love what you do to help people like myself and businesses. You're just amazing, and you avail yourself to each one of your clients as if they are the only ones. I don't know how you do it, but you're great.
Thank you, Denise. And it's so easy with people like you because you're always out there doing for others. And that's what made me want to have you on here today. So can you tell us a little bit about how this Do Right campaign started and what it's about?
Well, the Do Right movement is just basically just doing right for people. We're living in such a generation that is about me and about myself, and people having millions of dollars, but then they don't have anything to live for. I heard something that says it's better to give than to receive, and it really is so, because it's so much joy when you're able to extend yourself, as I said, extend yourself past yourself and be a blessing to people on purpose. It is just such a joy to wake up every morning knowing that your life has purpose and it has a meaning and it's bigger than what you are yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that so much.
Yeah, and so last year I started the Do Right movement. And it's just basically about spending every day that you live trying to be a blessing to somebody and being intentional about it. Because there's moments out of every one of our days that we can avail ourselves to be intentional to help someone else and to be a blessing to somebody else. Just something just off the top of my head. I pulled up next to a police officer the other day, and I'm sure he thought that I was going to say something really bad to him. I rolled down the window and just said, "Hey, thank you for your service." And it was just crazy because his smile just went from ear to ear. It was just like when I called the Kool-Aid smile. It was just, I mean, it just made his day. It's something didn't cost me a penny, didn't cost me anything out of myself, just to reach past myself to try to be a blessing to somebody on purpose.
Yeah, and it's amazing how when you're conscious and you're in the moment, how you can do the right thing. When you talked about people being toxic, I think sometimes we're not thinking about being in that moment. You see people walking down the streets and they're on their phones, or they're pushing a baby carriage and they're still, you can hear them, they're talking and they're talking to somebody else and not being present on the street or with the child that they're with, right? And I think, yeah, so honestly, I remember when my kids were little. My kids are both in their mid-20s now, but when my kids were little, they one of the things that they used to love to do was to run ahead of somebody and open up the door when we were at the mall for that person. And seeing
it's just something that simple.
Yeah,
I've seen people look at me. I have like 10 bags, and I've seen people watch me struggle trying to get in the door. I was like, yeah, you could actually open the door to help me, or something. But people just sit there and they see those moments. They don't seize those moments.
No, I think literally they've gone blank, right? Like I don't think it's that they're meaning to be mean or anything. I think they just go blank, and we become a society where we're like, should we help that? Like they literally contemplate it in their mind. Should I help that person? Are they going to think that I'm, trying to take advantage of them, or, and then they just sit there and they watch the moment pass by instead of just getting up and doing it, right? Doing it right.
I mean, it's just a conscious effort of doing something, putting some action to your day and to your thoughts. And so that's what we're about. And so it can be as little as just smiling at somebody who's having a bad day, or, huge, just reaching in your pocket and being a blessing to somebody. But there's always moments of the day that will avail themselves if you're conscious of that.
Yes, yes. And I seen an interview that you had done. I guess you didn't even know it was going to be an interview. These,
No, I didn't.
these people had started off because they had invited you over because they wanted to talk to you, and they had already had the camera running when you came in. So, and the reason they wanted to interview you was because of something that you had done and how this whole movement had gotten started. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, several things. One year, I was sitting at home. It was during Christmas time, and I had just gotten to Vegas, and didn't have any family here, and so, we were having the woe is me kind of day. And so I thought, well, there's so many other people that are really literally and legitimately sad during this period. I said I really didn't have a good reason to be sad during that holiday season. But I said, well, turn this thing around. And I know you're always talking about turning those moments around. And so I just decided, hey, well, why don't we, since this Jesus' birthday, why don't we throw him a birthday party? And so, I went to one of my pastor friends, Tony Howard, and I mentioned it to him. And he said, he just made one phone call, and one of his good friends who were, very wealthy, they donated like $2,500 to our thing. And so Lady Kathy and myself, we went out and we bought toys because I said I didn't want one child to be without a toy for Christmas. And I didn't want any person to be hungry for Christmas. So we got some of the best cooks that we knew, and they cooked up a ton of food. And our whole goal was that we're going to throw Jesus this big birthday party, because he said, what you've done to the least of these, my people, you've done it to me. So I said, okay, we're going to throw you a birthday party, Jesus. Because most of the time people are thinking about themselves for Christmas, buying something for somebody who really doesn't need it, And so that day we turned that around. Lady Kathy and I went out and picked up trash bags full of toys for kids, and we had the best time just shopping because we knew we were doing it for somebody else. The people who had told me that you're crazy for having it on Christmas Day because everybody wants to spend time with their families, they, many of them turned their hearts around, and they began to come, and they served the first part of the day, handing out meals to people who were homeless. We got this guy who had this big old huge bus went all around town, picking up all those people that were homeless on the street. Hey, get on the bus, we're going to take you to get you a meal. And it was just the most glorious time in our service to somebody else. And so them people, they couldn't believe it. Some of the people wouldn't even get on the bus because they just couldn't believe that somebody was going to be nice to them on purpose. And so the people that came, I asked them, because so many of those fathers and their mothers didn't have money to buy kids toys. And so we said, we're going to give you toys for your kids so that you can feel, special and being able to do something for your child. So, we had this huge, big old birthday party, and everybody was just elated. And we were more elated than probably them, but we had a wonderful time. And that made our Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, because it feels so good to give. When I was growing up, we knew a lot of people that didn't have much money, like not much money at all. And what they did have money, what small amount of money that they did have, they wanted to spend it on a really good meal for their children. So that meant that the child would get like maybe one toy that they wanted out of, I don't know how many, right? And then a really nice meal that they could afford. So these kids were so excited about that one toy. But I'm sure if there's parents out there, they're going to pick food over a toy for their children, right?
Yeah.
This is why you want to do this toy drive, correct?
Absolutely. One of the things that I did, I just want to back just a bit.
Sure.
One year we did it for Thanksgiving in Cincinnati, where I'm from. And people again thought that I was crazy for having it on Thanksgiving Day, but we got so many of these companies that donated towards us. And one of the things that they actually had in the newspaper, that it was a gentleman, he went down to the blood bank to donate blood so he can have something to eat for that day. And
Wow.
he didn't have anything to eat. And the blood bank, of course, because it was Thanksgiving, it was closed. And so he was so disappointed. So he was walking down the street and saw our sign and came in and had him a good meal. And that just made our day. That we were able to be there for that gentleman. We were answered to prayers, and that's what people can do. You can be an answer to somebody's prayer today if you just are willing to do so. And yes, LaFaye, we were talking about for Christmas, I had bought I'm a business owner, so I have access to a, a company that supplies, name brand toys like Funko, or like Star Wars, like any of these other major, and I can get them at wholesale. So I went out and bought thousands and thousands of dollars worth of toys. And I'm just looking for people who will sponsor those toys, because we have, if you give $10, you can sponsor a $10 toy. If you give $20, you can sponsor a $20 toy. We actually have even collector's items toys that cost about $100. And, maybe you might not have the whole $100, but if you give 50 and somebody else gives 50, that will supply that toy. So on the week of Christmas, we want to go to the hospitals, we want to go to the shelters and supply a toy, because I don't think any child should have not have a toy on Christmas. We never really had very much when I was growing up, like you were talking about, but you can always do something. You can always do something. I had a gentleman that I saw on television. He was saying he was so depressed during Christmas time. And the thought came to him, why am I so depressed when I have so much? And the thought came to him, okay, if it's Jesus' birthday, why are you getting all the gifts? And so he turned that thing around and began to start, and that's where I adopted my thinking, just by watching that man, because he turned that thing around to being a blessing. And I've always, I've struggled in the area of finances for a long time, but I always adopted a family during Christmas so that I could, whether if I bought kids toys, or if I bought them a coat, or in some cases, I knew the mother and the father spent all their money on the kids and they didn't have anything. So I bought something for the whole family, just so everybody can have something to open up on Christmas Day.
Yeah, and that's so true too. So many parents will sacrifice what they want for their kids.
Absolutely. And so, I bought the whole family. So, and I was in the position to do that. And one of the things is that I found out that once you give, it'll always come back to you, and you'll always have more to give. And so that's just a philosophy that, we've adopted throughout the year.
So let's talk a little bit about this, because I believe that one of the reasons that people don't understand the give and take, or the mentality of it feels so good to give rather than the me, is because they're not coming from a place of love. Like literally, when you make the decision to do something and you're giving out of the feeling of I have to, then it's not the right reason to give. You should be wanting to give because it feels good.
You know what? I get to give. I'm allowed that privilege, and I have the opportunity to give. I am so grateful when I have something to give. It's depressing to me when I don't have anything to give, because our lives are meant to be spent on, being a blessing to somebody else. And so it is such a joy for me to actually be able to put a smile like yours on. You have.
Yeah.
I love to see that on people.
Yeah. And, if somebody's giving and they feel that tinge of, oh, you know what, I've given too much or something like that. Because sometimes we will have family members or people that we know that just take, and it depletes us, right? So this is totally different. And if you have somebody like that, that's a toxic person. And that's going to kind of hinder your energy on what it is to actually
real quick.
Exactly. But when you want to give to somebody who, because you're giving as what's the word I'm looking for? You're giving simply out of love, like literally, not because you can give up here, but just whatever you can give. You're not going to ever try and deplete yourself. I like to tell the story of the cup and the saucer, because I found that the reason that I'd hurt my back, like I totally believe everything is energetic, like everything is energetic and we can feel it in our bodies. So it used to be, for example, that I used to give from my cup. My cup I would never allow my cup to be full. So if you thought of a teacup and a saucer, I used to take my cup and I used to try and fill it, but I would never allow it to get full, because I used to think that it was greedy and selfish. And that if I ever put myself first, then it was no good. And it was like, it was bad. It was something that God was going to strike me down for, right? So I would only let my cup get half full, and then I would deplete it. And then I would let it get half full, and then I would deplete it by giving more than actually what I could. And then when my back went out on me a couple of years ago, I realized for the very first time in my life that not only was I giving everything that was in my cup, I was creating my cup to be so dry and brittle that my cup was cracking. and that's what happened to my back. So when I was laying there, and all of a sudden I realized that my son, who has a severe, had a severe disability, had to look after me so that my husband could go to work sometimes, right, to try and still pay the bills. I lost all my income. I had to give up my rental property, my property management job. I had to, we had to let go of all of our horse boarders. Like literally our income went from here to here, and half the time my husband's income got cut in half because he had to look after me. And I realized by me not looking after myself, I put us in this position. Wow. So now what I do is I fill my cup up. I keep my cup overflowing all the time. I have a saucer that's constantly full too. So if my cup's always overflowing, then I have that saucer that I can give to all of the time. That means I've got so much coming in that I can give away so much more. Yeah. And I honestly think that's why you always see a smile on my face. And like you said, I'm always there for my clients because I have always got my cup filled now. I know, 11 o'clock I'm in bed, and I know, by 8 o'clock I'm working at something in the morning, right? So I fill my cup up. And I think that's what we need to do too for this toy drive. We need to realize what we can give. We don't need to give what we can't, just what we can, what feels truly good to us. If it's $10, just give $10. If it's $100 because we can afford it, give 100, right? Because there's going to be somebody that needs that. And, if we're one of those people that everybody says, you know what, I never know what to get you for Christmas because you have everything. You might, some of us know people like that. They just seem like they have everything. And if they want something, they just go get it because they have the money to do it. But then those are the people that really you could say, you know what, this year for Christmas or this year for your birthday, you know what I decided to do? I decided to give, 3 children or 3 families toys for Christmas in your name.
And that's what I did. The first year that I did that, I went to all of my family and said, don't buy me anything for Christmas because I'm not buying you anything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I didn't have a whole lot, but I started out by buying little gift coupons of like White Castles and McDonald's and Burger King. And I went out on Christmas Day and started handing them out to the homeless so that you can at least have something to eat. That's where I started. But then there was a gentleman, like when we did our Christmas drive, he had $2,500. He just gave that towards us, because he had it and he could. I love the thought where it says always having all sufficiency in all things, right, and that you can abound to do some good works for somebody else. And that's my whole thing. When you find yourself giving, you'll always find something to give, because you're always cognizant, always thinking, even with Jesus with 2 fish and 5 loaves, he said, give me something to work with, 2 fish, 5 loaves, and it multiplied and was able to bless the masses. And so if you take your 2 fish and I take my 5 loaves, we can be a blessing to somebody this Christmas. We got tons and tons of toys, and I'd love to give them away in your honor.
Yeah, isn't that amazing that she wants to do that? Perfect. Okay, so this Do Right campaign, can you show everybody your shirt?
I have a Do Right shirt. We actually have a whole clothing line, and we have this. Also, we have some of these I cut up. I don't know if you could see that.
A little bit higher. There we go. Yeah, the Do Right.
This one is one of the designer ones we do. We do some designers, but this is our clothing line. It's connected to the movement, because every day I believe that you should be advertising. Your body can be an advertisement. You don't have to open your mouth, but the things that you do and the things that you wear on your can be, speak, volumes for you.
Yes, absolutely. Our actions speak louder than our words sometimes, don't they?
Absolutely.
So where can people follow this movement? Where can people follow what you're doing and how people are helping and see videos and interviews with you and things like that? Do you have a Facebook group?
I do. I have a Facebook group. It's Let's Do Right 123 at Let's Do Right 123. And then also my website at letsdoright.com. Again, that's letsdoright.com, or Facebook at Let's Do Right 123.
Perfect. And we'll put those in the comments too, because you broke up a little bit during that, Denise. It might have been because your phone rang.
The Facebook is at Let's Do Right 123. And my website is letsdoright.com. Let's, L-E-T-S, do do right, RIGHT.com. Let's do right.com. Let's do right.
All right, that's perfect. So that's how they can get a hold of you. That's how they can see what's happening. They'll also see some video on some of these collector item toys and stuff that you have that these kids are going to get. This is also something really, really amazing because you know what? Sometimes these children that don't have much, you know what? They get toys that they don't really, or well, I shouldn't say that. They get toys that they're going to be appreciative of, but for them to get one of these collector item toys, and I've seen some of the toys that you have there, some of these toys, they're probably going to get these and hang on to them well into adulthood. Absolutely. And they're going to remember who gave that toy to them. They're going to remember this movement. They're going to want to grow up. I really think it's going to make a difference in these children's lives as they move forward in becoming men and women.
I know, and that's the thing, because again, LaFaye, we could spend all of our money buying for people who don't really need it, or we can spend our money making a difference into somebody's lives. I remember Oprah Winfrey saying that, she's a billionaire, of course, and she was giving to all these people in the United States, and they were acting like, okay, you're supposed to do that for me. But then turn that around and start giving to the people in Africa, and these people would just weep and cry and think, like, wow, you would do that for me, and that's what gives you so much joy, when you know that you are an answer to somebody's prayer, not just giving because of, toxic people who suck everything from you. And so, that is just such a huge joy when you can really realize that, okay, I was somebody's angel today, and that is just such a blessing.
It is. It makes such a difference. And what I love is that we can watch you. We can see you going out and giving and doing right, doing those right things through your channels. So I'm looking so forward to watching you grow and achieve, because you know what? You're new in the Business Builders Lab, right? So we're about to start working on your branding, and we're going to make this movement really shine. And and that's one of the things that I absolutely love about you, because it's going to be so easy, because you're making a difference in the world the way we want companies to make a difference in the world. And that's almost going to make me cry, but literally that's exactly what you're doing, right? You're going to make a difference in people's lives that they're never going to forget. They're going to mature because of this. They're going to become better men and better women because of this, right?
To think that somebody cared about me, you were saying, the Coke commercial, I like to think that in perfect harmony, I like to teach the world to sing. And that's what I like to teach the people in the world, how to love unconditionally, the way we've been loved. And so that's we want to have a feel good feeling when you talk about the Do Right movement. We want people to feel right and feel good and to feel like they matter. There's so many people that are committing suicide because they just don't know that life is worth living. And life is worth living if you could be a blessing to somebody else and stop looking at your own self. There was millionaires that commit suicide because they don't have anything to live for. If they would just take those millions and just do right for somebody else, you would have a purpose to live every single solitary day.
Yeah. Or if they would just step into the shoes of somebody who's being of service too, right? Because, if we don't have money and we have time, then that time is, honestly, time is something we can't make more of. So by giving of their time, that is going to create such a difference as well.
That's what I want to do for like the week of Christmas. I want to get these, some of my friends who have little kids who have never been a part of anything like that. I want them to go to the hospitals and them to go to the shelters and be a part of helping me pass out these kids toys, because it will make them appreciative of the things that they get themselves as well.
It does. It makes them, I just keep saying, it makes better men and women. It just creates that energy, that frequency that we all need. It creates better karma, right? Like, it really.
If you don't like the world that you're living in, change it.
That's right. Yeah, it starts with us. We need to change ourselves and our attitude and what we're putting forward if we want a better world around us.
Yes, one person at a time. I may not be able to change everybody's world, but if I change yours and then you can change somebody else's, it can become a chain reaction. And so then you look up and people are not so toxic. They're laid back. They're a joy. They're blessing to people. So that's what we want to do.
It is. And I truly believe when you get on that frequency, right, and you attract people like that to you. I mean, you've been in the Business Builders Lab now for a couple of months. I think it's what, 2 months, something like that.
Yeah.
And the people in there, aren't they great? Like
Yeah,
they're just
so amazing.
yeah. Everybody smiles, everybody's happy, everybody's like, oh, did you try this or did you do this? Everybody's rooting for each other to win. Like we want to lift everybody up together.
Everybody can win. You know, sometimes you think that if I help them, then I won't be helped. But if I think that, you know, a better mentality is let's all win. Let's all win together.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we're doing. All right, Denise, any last words? We've been on here for about 25 minutes. So do we have anything that we'd like to speak about again or just quickly cover?
Visit us on letsdoright.com. There you can make your donation towards Smiles for a Child and be a blessing to somebody on purpose.
Yep. And buy that clothing that you have.
Absolutely. The Do Right movement and the clothing line. I think I got it. How do I have it? Upside down?
And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, really, you know what, go in there, become part of her group because she's going to change so many lives and she's really going to start a movement that you're going to hear all over the world in the coming years. And it's just getting started. This is just a baby. This is just that first step. So yeah. So congratulations, Denise. I'm excited to be part of it. I'm excited to
LaFaye. You're such a dear.
Oh, thank you. All right, everybody. That was another live episode from the Business Builders Lab, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow with another one. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Blessings.
You too.